Today's episode on the Star Trek Critic, Galaxy's Child. The plot, Geordi screws up with a girl again. The whole purpose of this episode is to let that large number of Star Trek fans out there know that they are not alone. Geordi is called into the office. Jean-Luc says, "Look, Geordi, I can do the Picard maneuver twice in a row." "Geordi, your holographic fantasy has come to life and is coming here. That is every Trekkie's dream. But maybe you should talk to Barclay first for advice on how to delete the porn off your computer before she comes over." Geordi has studied her schematics for years. We all know what that means. As usual in Starfleet, it is illegal to move your chair to sit down in it. Guinan says, "Oh, look how cute. Geordi's going to do Picard maneuver number 3. Guinan says, "You're going to wear it out." That's really an inappropriate comment for a family show. Guinan says, "Geordi, that was a hologram." Geordi says, No, she was different." Then Guinan says, "Doesn't Barclay work for you? Do you know how many times he comes in here? Now you're going to be just like him. We even finished each other's sandwiches." Guinan's thinking, "Yeah, you're going to get the ass whooping of a lifetime." Geordi says, "No, Guinan, you've got it all wrong. If I listen to you, it will be a really short Star Trek episode, won't it?" Dr. Brahms breathes a sigh of relief as she comes to the transporter. She must be afraid of them too. Dr. Brahms arrives and says, "Let's go to engineering." And Geordi's like, "I'm screwed." Geordi says, "I know why you're here. You just wanted to come to the Enterprise and ride the elevator, isn't it?" Geordi and Dr. Brahms argue like they've been married for 30 years. Of course, this is turning Geordi on, isn't it? Of course, Dr. Brahms really does have a stick up her ass, doesn't she? She's probably spent the last 6 months in space hopping from ship to ship to find out how they all changed her plans, and she hasn't gotten laid in a long time. And now her husband is sending her a message on subspace instead of her cell phone. The first point is lost here because 300 years in the future they didn't realize we already have email. Data says, "Commander, there's something out here. Should we A, send a probe like we're supposed to since we're on a mission paid for by hardworking taxpayers? Or B, divert from our mission and look for something that might get us all killed and waste a lot of taxpayer money like we always do?" Riker says, "It's not their money anymore, it's our money and we're going to do what we want with it like true politicians. So let's go exploring." The next point is lost for Geordi turning off the ship while they're flying through space. I'm sure that's going to get them into a lot of trouble. He just wants to show off to his imaginary girlfriend. And they found a life form living in space. They never seen that before at all, have they? Ensign Rager says, "I number 1. Then she says, "How are we going to get there if the engine's turned off?" Worf says, "I number 2. Leah wants to know, why did the first baseman change this? Of course, Geordi is too stupid to say, "I read your reports on what to do next, so tried it out." And now he's starting to sound a little creepy. Gentlemen out there, and some women too, this episode is a fine class on teaching you what not to do. Now Geordi asks her out on a date at his quarters. He is a senior officer. He should know not to do that when there is a perfectly good 10 forward, so -1 point. And how did he know she liked fungili? And would he really be cooking because it's all replicated? The next point is lost for a visible boom mic in the reflection. And Picard's like, "Oh my gosh, a life form in space. We've never seen those before." See, if they followed protocol and launched probes first, they would have never killed the mother, so -1 point. 1 point lost for a single set of doors on the turbolift, and 1 point lost because Deanna has less than 5 lines in this show. Data says, "I number 3. Picard says, "What would it be like? No ship, just to live between the stars and call the galaxy as your home." And Deanna says, "Captain Picard, you did that in the first season." Worf says, "We are being probed." Can they say that on a family TV show? Ensign Rager says, "I number 3. Always look out for protective mothers in space." Look close. Geordi is in engineering. Poor Worf only meant to push the thing away. He didn't mean to kill it. Data says, "I think it is dead, sir." Captain Picard is contemplating what to do next, and he's thinking, "We have food for the crew for a year. Let's harvest." Deanna says, "Captain, everything you did was according to protocol. It's Riker's fault for not sending a probe to begin with, so I think you should throw him out the airlock." 1 point lost here because Geordi was in engineering just a second ago. Geordi rubs the magic crystal ball for advice. Geordi is thinking, what kind of music would Dr. Leah Brahms want? Oh, I got it. How about Brahms? Geordi says, "I really just wanted to make you feel more comfortable." That's what all creepy old men say. And 1 point lost here. Dr. Brahms would have never gone to his quarters that day. Dr. Brahms contemplates her existence. Geordi is sniffing her hair, just like a creepy old man. Is he going to run for president soon? Dr. Brahms says, to be honest, I'm cold and cerebral, like the brain women on Talos 4. Leah says, you're creeping me out a little bit, so I'm gonna go. 1 point lost here for the door opening too soon, but the doors are used to Geordi screwing up all the time. In the time that Geordi was in engineering, then went to his quarters to change and strike out, no time has passed on the bridge, so -1 point. And of course, Riker's standing right behind Picard as always, like the little ass kisser that he is. Picard says, no wonder it attacked us. It was about to get birth, and the first person they cut to is Gates McFadden, who was currently pregnant at the time of the filming. Everyone wants to know who bare their young in this manner. Worf says, I think it'd be better if we just ate it. -1 point here because for Geordi it is the next morning. At least 6 to 8 hours have passed, but in the bridge they're still dealing with the unborn baby. Now Geordi mansplains. He is on a roll, isn't he? Dr. Brahms calls Geordi out on all he knows about her, and Geordi confesses his love for her in a long tunnel. And if you want to get technical, her work profile that he studied probably would not say that she was married. And 1 point lost for not sending a shuttle over to do this delicate work. Deanna says, you can do it! Another point lost for this timeline mismatch. Geordi just stares at the game. Only Guinan moves the chess pieces. She actually does it twice in a row. Geordi blames technology for all his mistakes. As usual, Guinan gives counseling. Counselor Troy never does anything. Beverly doesn't say baby and mother. She says offspring and parent like the annoying woke liberal that she is. About 1 hour has passed on the bridge, and now that the baby is out, they say, let's leave it here to die. This is Picard maneuver number 4. Ensign Rager says I number 5, so it's time for a drink.
We like to drink, 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 drink.
Rager says I number 6. Deanna states the obvious. And just how does that thing move so fast to catch the Enterprise? 1 point lost for the captain's log talking down to the audience like we forgot everything during the commercials. Geordi does a quick Picard maneuver number 5, and it's time for another drink.
We like to drink, 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 drink.
Another point lost for 2 visible boom mics moving around. Supposedly only a short time has passed. Dr. Brahms has changed again, so -1 point. This is Picard maneuver number 6. Why is it the only one of the solution is not a member of the crew? And that was Stardate mismatch number 5, so we're gonna have another drink.
We like to drink, 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 drink.
Of course, this file would always be sent to the shipyard to see what they are doing. And the next point is lost for Picard calling Geordi. This is just a plot device to separate them and then have all hell break loose. 1 point lost here because this holographic simulation is available on all the starships, not just a surprise here. So Geordi went back to the bridge, all the way down to Deck 36, and now, where is Holodeck 3? It's nowhere near Deck 36. A woman said, I didn't think. Is that considered sexist, or just the way life is as we know it? 1 point lost here. Unless you saved the last few lines, the holodeck will not replay just the last few lines. The Utopia Planitia program would have opened up, and the holographic Leah would have shown up and explained to the real Dr. Brahms why she was there, and the real Dr. Brahms would have said, hey, that's cool, that explains why he wanted to meet me. Geordi uses the age-old line, it's not what it looks like, I can explain. That line never works though. And she's pissed. And then Geordi tries playing the victim. What an asshole. He's just digging his own grave. The lines he's saying are okay, but it's really bad timing. Worf gets a complaint of sexual harassment on Holodeck 3. Ensign Rager says I number 7. Ensign Rager says I number 8. This image does not match this image, so -1 point. The next point is lost for Geordi being in the shuttle bay. They would have called the crew in shuttle bay and have them do it, and not have the chief engineer do everything. No wonder he's pissed. This is also Shuttle Bay 3 and not 2, so -1 more point. And they're saying, hey, we're flying towards rocks and some of them are moving towards us. Geordi is back in engineering. They really run him ragged. After accusing Geordi of violating her, they talk about nursing babies and milk. Normally the Enterprise faces off 3 Romulan ships like that. Geordi now says, Leah, take it down further. Now he says, nudge it down even further. How can they say this on family TV? The creature detaches, and everybody is happy. See, they're smiling. Ensign Rager says I number 9. As usual, they sit down without moving their chairs, because it's in their union contract that they're not allowed to move their own chairs. Leah tells him how exciting it is that men actually have holodeck fantasies about her. Geordi says, yeah, well, holodeck fantasies are all I ever do because that's the only way I get lucky. Now they're friends. Rumor is they got married years later in the future, but I can't verify that. And you know Dr. Brahms is really high up there in Starfleet if the chief of security lets her know she has a message from her husband. For everyone else, it's like, go check your own damn email. This is the 4th of 5 appearances of April Grace. This is the first of 2 appearances of Jana Marie Hupp. She was also in Splash 2, Independence Day, and the main role in Ed. Susan Gibney tried out for the part of Deanna Troi, Tasha Yar, Captain Janeway, 7 and 9, and the Borg Queen. She has 55 screen credits including Alien Nation, JAG, Diagnosis Murder, and will be back on DS9 and Star Trek Lower Decks. This is the first of 4 appearances of Lanai Chapman. She was on Rat Race, Space Above and Beyond, and Grey's Anatomy. And because she said, "Aye, sir," 7 times, we're gonna take one final drink.
We like to drink, 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 drink.
Galaxy's Child, where they again act like they've never seen an alien living in space before, gets the same score as the amount of times Geordi screwed up with a girl, which is 88. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to click that like button, the share button, that subscribe button. And when it comes to relationships, whatever you do, don't do anything that Geordi did in this episode.